New game modes, a brand new map, hero balance changes, and more in Update 1.14.1.0 on Overwatch. Welcome back to N+1 channel. This is Carl, and this is Overwatch patch notes for PTR 1.14.1.0. So a new patch actually dropped yesterday. I didn't get a chance to get to it. I had to work. So going ahead and covering this now. So a lot of interesting stuff. I wasn't expecting this. It kind of came out of left field. So we've got patch highlights, a new, or rather new game modes, Deathmatch and Team Deathmatch. And it's funny actually that they're doing these modes because at one point, Blizzard and the team, Jeff Kaplan, basically said, no, this is all about team modes. We're not really interested in doing deathmatch. But listening to the developer update video, Jeff was basically talking about the role of the arcade and how we have these kind of interesting modes that aren't necessarily balanced. So with deathmatch being kind of a free-for-all, everyone trying to get as many kills as possible, it never really fit in with the design philosophy of modes like quick play or competitive. But now, since the arcade has been picking up steam, there's custom games and everything, they've decided to go ahead and test this, and it looks pretty exciting. So we've got two game modes that have been added to the arcade, Deathmatch and Team Deathmatch. In Deathmatch, 8 players go head-to-head until one player scores 20 points. 20 points being 20 kills. Players will earn 1 point whenever they land the final blow on an opponent and will lose 1 point whenever they die to environmental damage, such as falling off a cliff, or self-inflicted damage. This scoring will be tracked in a brand new scoreboard, and the first player to 20 points wins. This is also kind of interesting. So they developed an entirely new scoreboard system just to facilitate this mode. 20 points to win in Team Deathmatch. 2 teams of 4 players, so 4v4, face off until one team scores 30 points. Players will earn 1 point for their team whenever they land the final blow for an opponent, or on an opponent, will lose 1 point for their team whenever they die to environmental damage, i.e. falling off a cliff or self-inflicted damage. If players are resurrected before they respawn, the corresponding point for their death will be deducted from the enemy team's score. So this actually makes characters like Mercy incredibly powerful and have such an unreplaceable utility for this mode. It doesn't really seem to favor Symmetra, since Symmetra teleports would still require that the character respawn, but Mercy will absolutely be fundamental to these team deathmatch modes. Let's see here. Scoring will be tracked in our default scoreboard. The first team to 30 points wins. Now they have a number of maps here, and something that's really exciting, we're gonna see this, but there's a brand new map that corresponds to this mode as well, and that gives us some Widowmaker backstory. And I've seen screenshots, I haven't had a chance to try it yet, but let me tell you guys, it looks beautiful. I saw this Imgur thread on Reddit with all these screenshots of this beautiful chateau building, and it expounds on Widowmaker's lore, so I am just beyond excited for that. Now, both modes will play out on a selection of maps from our existing pool. So we have Hanamura, Horizon Lunar Colony, Temple of Anubis, Volskaya Industries, Dorado, Eichenwald, Hollywood, Kings Row, and then for the Team Deathmatch versions, there will also be Black Forest, Castillo, Eco Point, Antarctica, and the Necropolis. And actually, listening to Jeff's video, he talked about how those last 4 maps weren't really fun for just the one-on-one, and then so too some of the other maps that they were testing for the team deathmatch weren't always so balanced. So it sounds like they've actually tuned some of these like payload and hybrid payload maps to actually work with these. And actually in the video he mentioned Nimbani, I'm almost sure, but I don't see it listed on here. So we've made several modifications to many of these maps, including restricting play to a specific area and developing a special respawn system while playing in these modes. We're also introducing a brand new map specifically for Deathmatch, Château Guillard. Learn more about this map below. Both modes will be available for play in custom games, so that's exciting too. The custom games browser has just been a fantastic addition ever since it was added. They've got a developer update link, but yeah, you can find that on YouTube. Alright, so new Deathmatch map, Château Guillard. Château Guillard is located near Annecy in southeastern France. For hundreds of years, it was the estate of the influential Guillard family until it gradually fell into disrepair after the family's power waned in the decades after the revolution. Recently, the chateau has found a new owner, the talent agent Widowmaker, who has returned to her family's ancestral home. So I'm going to try and get a chance to actually have, as I'm reading the rest of these patch notes, have that map going on in the background there. Alright, so under general, oh yeah, alright, so look, so not only is there team deathmatch, and not only is there a new map, but there's all these really cool hero updates, and they're really testing some interesting balance changes for Roadhog, because I know that basically Roadhog has kind of found himself in a tough spot lately. Everything that people used him for, you can't really use him for anymore. And they really are going way away from what he was utilized for, which was burst damage and catching people out of position. Now they're trying to make him fit more in line with their original vision of a tank. And you're going to see that in these patch notes. Junkrat got some interesting buffs. Orisa got some incredibly crazy buffs. I don't know that they're all going to go to live, though, because the changes that they've made to Orisa's shield are pretty dramatic. So, alright, let's go to the hero update. Oh, actually, let's see here. Yeah, let's start with general here. A number of data format changes have been implemented. And then in developer comments on that, over the past few months, we've been working on a number of significant under-the-hood changes that will help us streamline the patching process. This will allow us to reduce the download size in future patches, but it does mean that today's patch is larger than a traditional patch. So they're probably using some kind of a differencing system. I'm not really sure. Maybe they'll just have the base image, and you know, it's kind of what I assume that they already did, though, right? Is that they had like their alpha, and then they just you know, basically uploaded whatever deltas happened. So I'm not sure what's changed there. Alright, so under hero updates, Junkrat, concussion mine. Junkrat can now hold 2 mines. So this is a really interesting change. And I saw actually a couple threads on Reddit and some video actually demonstrating this. But basically they had a concussion mine on the ground. So they blew that up on themselves to jump in the air, dropped another concussion mine in the air, jumped, and dropped another concussion mine and jumped. So if you save up 2 after deploying the first one, you can actually pull off a triple jump. This gives Junkrat amazing mobility. Plus, of course, each concussion mine itself does 120 points of damage. So even just being able to hold the 2 is 240 points of damage that Junkrat can use either against the enemy to actually damage them, or as mobility, because yeah, concussion mines are great for Junkrat mobility. They've also gone ahead and buffed his rip tire, so now the tire's movement speed has been increased by 30%, and it doesn't sound like a lot. It really doesn't. You know, reading that the first time, I was like, oh, okay, you know, that's kind of nice, right? For him to have a movement speed increase on rip tire, but I didn't think it would change things that much. Watch some comparison videos, and let me tell you that 30% speed increase allows him to cover a lot of ground, and it is pretty dramatic. There's also no longer a time limit when wall climbing. So basically, you know, Rip Tire is now Lucio's wall ride, right? You can scale walls more easily. You don't have to necessarily fall down with the Rip Tire when you're scaling a wall, so this gives it way more verticality, right? We're talking about being able to send it way over walls and both keep Junkrat out of danger, and with the increased tire speed, you can cover far more ground with far more verticality. So this is crazy, actually. I mean, you know, I never even felt like Junkrat was in a bad position before, but if he was, he's in a significantly better position now. His ultimate ability has always left him sort of vulnerable, and this mitigates that a lot. And then developer comments, giving the Junkrat, it actually does say that too, giving Junkrat the ability to store 2 concussion mines adds some much needed flexibility and versatility to his kit, particularly when using the mines for mobility. Rip Tire's damage has always been very good, but it was often difficult to steer the tire into position before it was destroyed. Increasing its speed will allow players to effectively detonate the tire more often and decrease the amount of time that Junkrat is vulnerable while controlling it. And that's true, actually. You know, the Rip Tire itself does not have a lot of health. I think it's 100 health per Rip Tire. Though, you know, I still think it's actually been pretty useful. I've seen a lot of Junkrats adapt very well to hiding, and you know, a lot of really cool strategies of, you know, basically picking terrain that's you know, that's higher or outside of the view or the purview of what the team is looking at. So that's exciting. All right, and here we are to Orisa. All right, so they've increased the projectile speed of Orisa's fusion driver by 20%. Now it's interesting that that says 20%, because when I was first looking at patch notes, I thought it said 30%. Now this is not a change to her rate of fire, which is how I interpreted it at first. So she is not firing bullets more quickly in terms of how it's leaving her clip. Rather, it's about the travel time from the moment that it leaves her gun to the point that it's being aimed at. And so this does nothing for DPS. However, what it does mean is that she should realistically hit targets more frequently, especially with higher mobility characters such as Lucio or Soldier 76. And makes her more effective against characters like Pharah. So even though she's not hit scan, and they are calculated bullets, this does put her almost closer to being a hit scan character, right? You're never going to cross that calculated projectile to hit scan barrier, just because those calculations are instant with hit scan, as it's one of the oldest models actually for hit registration, hit detection, and collision detection for first-person shooters. But I think, and I'm hoping, that this will actually decrease the amount of times that people are relying on characters like Soldier or McCree to take down a Pharah or other high mobility characters, especially if they add characters with a lot more verticality like Pharah. Because right now, Pharah's in a class of her own. Yes, there is what people call the pharmacy or Pharah and Mercy combo, where, you know, you take Mercy and you follow Pharah and you use Guardian Angel to continue to follow her in the air. Eventually, I expect that there will be another air-oriented hero. But for now, this is pretty exciting for Orisa mains, and she's actually been finding herself into a lot of excuse me, a lot of the competitive meta. Right now, she's the only other true shield hero next to Reinhardt. You know, for a long time, Reinhardt was a very central figure in every team meta for competitive. His utility was completely irreplaceable. But now that you have Orisa, who, even though her shield doesn't move with her, her ability to constantly redeploy that shield, that 900 health shield, and to be able to do damage from behind it, range damage at that, has really put her in a great spot to take over Reinhardt's usage on a lot of maps, especially, for instance, the first point on Hanamura for defense at the choke at the gate, at the big doors. Which, speaking of her shield, or rather her protective barrier, her barrier size has increased by 20%, and they've actually changed the shape to allow for more coverage from enemies that are below the barrier. So what does that mean? So I've gotten a chance to see this as well. And with Orisa, basically, you've got this 20% size increase is pretty dramatic. And it actually seems to increase the curve around the left and right sides as well, giving far more of a concave kind of design to the people that you're trying to protect. So it helps against flankers on the left and the right. Also, with this, what they're talking about in the second part is that below where it's deployed, it also has a small window at the bottom that actually blocks against enemy fire. And it's pretty significant. It has to be seen to be believed. Alright, so we got the developer comments here. The projectile speed increase helps Orisa's consistency, especially at medium ranges or further. Her barrier size has been increased to better protect her team, and the new shape makes the shield more effective when it's used on slopes or on top of objects such as a payload. Alright, we got Roadhog. So these Roadhog changes, again, they're more in line with what Blizzard seems to want to do with the Roadhog character, and not necessarily what I'm finding that the community wants to use Roadhog for. Now, whether or not you think that that's a bad idea, this does appear to be part of Blizzard, of the Overwatch team's design philosophy for Roadhog going forward. Again, as I was talking earlier, not so much about burst damage, but they seem to want to allow Roadhog to survive better. Which, right, I mean, you know, one of the goals of a tank is to draw fire from the enemy team and to have high survivability. And that does appear to be what they're doing now. Because, for instance, with Take a Breather, it can now be used while moving. And this is a very similar change to what we saw with Bastion, actually. So, at one point, you know, you could not move and heal yourself as Bastion at the same time. And then, of course, they added Ironclad to reduce the damage when you were in Sentry mode. So this makes it to where Roadhog, even though he doesn't have mobility abilities, he can kind of run away and heal. But in addition to this, damage taking while healing has been reduced by 50%. Now, let me tell you why this is significant. And again, I had a chance to do some research, see some video for some of this, and I saw a video of Roadhog doing Take a Breather at near full health while D.Va's self-destruct went off. And let me tell you, Roadhog can survive. And as long as you actually trigger the Take a Breather while she is exploding, he will survive. Now this is actually a big deal. Although I don't necessarily like what they're doing with Roadhog, I can say that this puts him in a unique position of being able to survive that. And there's only two characters that can effectively survive that kind of explosion, unless you count, you know, having a shield up or putting up maze walls. And that, of course, is another D.Va, because if you're in mech and your mech gets destroyed by the explosion, you still survive as what people call baby D.Va or the D.Va out of mech. But now adding Roadhog to that list is pretty significant, right? Because now he's a high health pool hero. He'll have survived it, and he'll have survived it with the most health possible to survive it with. At when I saw it, he was like at 323 health by the time that his Take a Breather was finished. And, you know, I guess that's going to vary a little bit depending on when you triggered it and how much health you started with. But assuming full health or near full health, you can survive a D.Va self-destruct. So, big deal. We'll see if this changes how often Hog is played and how Hog is played. Developer comments on this. These changes help Roadhog be much more aggressive when looking for hook targets or blocking for his team. The combination of these effects significantly increases Roadhog's sustainability and survivability. Oh, one thing I want to mention though, and one of the biggest concerns that I'm seeing from the community actually is, okay, great, we've got that, but now doesn't that just make Roadhog basically what people call an ult battery? So when I have a Roadhog on my team and I'm playing as Mercy, I am constantly just stuck on him and healing him as he takes damage and tanks damage. Since he doesn't rely on shields, he is probably one of my favorite heroes to constantly heal because I can build up my res charge very quickly. My second favorite's probably D.Va. So too, though, with the enemy team and them doing damage to him, he is going to serve as an ult battery for the enemy team. And by nature, the fact that he can survive longer and does lower damage, because he doesn't do a lot of damage when compared to DPS characters, or even someone like Orisa, right? He does less damage than Orisa, especially over time, even with the increased clip size. So, you know, is this good or is this bad, right? Are we giving more of an advantage to the enemy team by having Roadhog be able to last longer because they're going to get ults more frequently? And that's going to be something that's almost going to have to be played to see how that plays out. So I'm very interested to see what these changes are really going to do to the community. Yeah. All right, Widowmaker. Widowmaker also got some changes, and you know, I don't know. Widowmaker is one of those characters that sometimes she gets picked a lot, sometimes she doesn't get picked at all. She's very situational, and she's not always effective on every map. However, it looks like they're trying to balance that out. So the grappling hook, which has two functions basically, right? It's a mobility ability that lets you jump out of danger or attempt to jump out of danger when things kind of get too hot for her. And also it's an ability that's designed to help you position yourself for your sniper kills. So the original cooldown period, or at least recently, was 12 seconds. They've reduced that by 4 seconds down to 8 seconds. Which is pretty significant, actually. That doesn't sound like a really big reduction, but it is, because it means she can get into position, snipe, snipe, snipe. By the time she's done sniping, her grappling hook will recharge, and she can reposition again. So in situations where you might have a Reaper that's repositioning to take out Widowmaker, she can then take herself out of danger in a more responsive way. Also, the second change is really interesting. So, the Venom Mine. I never found Venom Mine to be particularly useful, and I think that Blizzard kind of realized that it wasn't being used that often either, right? I think there's only been a handful of times that I've ever hit a Venom Mine and been like, you know, and taken a little bit of damage. So now, affected targets are visible through walls, but only to Widowmaker. So, you know, in much the same way that Hanzo's Sonic Arrow or even Widowmaker's ultimate ability, Infrasight, works, you will be able to see characters through walls when they get hit by this. Now, I don't know that this is so much useful for the raw damage that Venom Mine does, because it doesn't do a lot of damage. This is almost more of an early warning system. So in conjunction with the changes to the grappling hook, I kind of feel like grappling hook plus the change to Venom Mine puts her in a position to where she can set up Venom Mine. It gets triggered, maybe it's behind her or whatever, hits the enemy, she's aware of it, she can hook away, and then they're still going to be revealed for a few moments. When she hooks away, she might be able to get a headshot. So this potentially is game changing for how people play Widowmaker, but we're going to see. Developer comments, by the way, is Widowmaker is extremely powerful in the right hands, but her abilities often felt a little weak. The grappling hook cooldown reduction means she is more likely to have it available when she needs to escape. Venom Mine is intended to be an early warning system, uncovering enemies that are attempting to flank her or her team. With this change, she can see enemies when they trigger the mine, even if they're on the other side of a wall. So she's got wall hacks like Sombra now too, in a way. All right, now we have some of these more general changes. User interface. Add an outline opacity option under the custom reticle settings, which allows players to control the opacity of the black outline surrounding Reinhardt. Reinhardt. Okay, I'm sorry, that was terrible. Surrounding the reticule. So that's interesting. I'm really liking the fact that there's custom reticules. I know that some people are asking for a better default reticule for Junkrat, just to kind of complement the arc of his main grenades. Maybe we'll see if that happens. Alright, we got some hero fixes. They fixed a bug that could cause D.Va's black ejection screen to briefly reappear after being ejected from her mech. This has been a bug, apparently, since day one or near day one. I know that I've read about it on Reddit a lot. I don't play D.Va, and even when I played her in Skirmish, I've not actually seen this personally. But I know it's affected a lot of people, and supposedly this patch specifically does in fact fix it. So even if it took them a year to do it, I'm glad they fixed it. Over a year, right? Anniversary event was a while ago. Alright, they fixed a bug causing D.Va's light gun to use the wrong texture while outside of her mech when the Junker skin was equipped. They fixed a bug that caused D.Va's hair to stand straight up on the hero select screen when her cruiser skin was equipped. Fixed a bug causing the lights on the back of Doomfist Gauntlet to incorrectly indicate full ammo when his hello emote was activated. They fixed a bug that prevented the area of effect circle for Doomfist Meteor Strike from being visible to all players. Oh, that sounds rough. I didn't know that was a thing. I guess that means you'd hear Meteor Strike, and then you'd be like, okay, where is it? And then you just die or something, right? Because you wouldn't see the circle. So I'm glad that they got that fixed. I had not seen that bug. They fixed a bug in preventing the height of Doomfist Meteor Strike from being high enough to reach certain locations. They fixed a bug that was preventing Doomfist Rocket Punch from connecting with enemy players that were moving up an incline. They fixed a bug that caused Hanzo's arrow to disappear when his meditate mode was active. Emote was active. Fixed a bug preventing Orisa's overclocked achievement from being granted even after the criteria was met. Fixed a bug causing Sombra's teeth to be visible while her stealth ability was active when her Los Muertos skin was equipped. Alright, now that's hilarious. I've never seen that. But just the idea of a floating pair of teeth that belong to Sombra while she's invisible, that tickles me. That tickles me really hard. I like that. I'm glad they fixed it, but that's really funny. I also fixed a bug causing Sombra's reload animation to play even when interrupted. Alright, then on maps, they fixed a bug that allowed players to reach unintended locations on Eco Point Antarctica. They fixed a bug that allowed players to see past the map's background on Black Forest. They fixed a bug that allowed players to reach unintended locations on Black Forest. I've actually had a chance to, on Black Forest, I've actually been underneath the map, and I think same thing with Castillo, but no, it might have been just Black Forest. I know somebody showed me. We did this in a custom game with Sombra. We were able to translocate off the side and then down and then all the way up into the air. But you had to have like a really low cooldown for her translocator too to do this properly. Alright, fixed a bug that caused the announcer to say traveling to Dorado when joining Castillo. I actually thought that was normal. So I'm glad that they fixed that, because yeah, I always heard traveling to Dorado even when it said Castillo. Fixed a bug that prevented some equipment, such as vents, pipes, etc., from properly connecting to the walls of the power plant on Dorado. I had not seen that. Fixed a bug that allowed players to reach unintended locations on Hanamura. Fixed an issue that caused sprays to display incorrectly on the crane on the Horizon Lunar Colony. Fixed a bug that could cause AI heroes to get themselves stuck while traveling to the well capture point on Ilios. That's hilarious, because at one point they actually used to also fall into the well. Fixed a bug that allowed players to reach unintended locations on Ilios, and fixed a bug that allowed players to reach unintended locations on Oasis. Fixed a bug that prevented Farah's jump jet from recharging while perched on door frames in Oasis. Fixed a bug that prevented the door frames from being visible and lacking collision on the practice range. And then 3 small user interface changes. Fixed a bug in the options to controls menu that prevented the asterisk, which normally indicates that changes have been made, from being removed from the hero's dropdown after controls have been set to default. They fixed a bug causing the back button to disappear when scrolling through the list of available games in the game browser. And they fixed a bug that prevented grouped players from appearing linked in the tab menu during a custom game. One other thing that's worth mentioning, actually, that is not a part of this, is that some cosmetic changes have been made to Nimbani. So the old Doomfist posters have now been replaced. The payload is actually a different payload, and the old Doomfist Gauntlet display is actually now the display for Ife Oladele, and actually has the supercharger in there inside of the display now, along with sort of a blurb about her role as, you know, kind of a young scientist. So a lot of really cool stuff, some lore changes, new map, team deathmatch, major bug fixes, and 4 potentially huge hero rebalances and buffs. None of these are what I would consider to be nerfs or negative rebalances. This all appears to be net buff for everyone involved. So I hope that you enjoyed these patch note videos. I really enjoy it when they actually make changes to heroes, because that gives me a chance to do analysis. Sometimes when I'm doing patch note videos, it's just, you know, hey, we've got a new map or a new game mode, or it's summer games. So this is actually a lot nicer to have concrete changes with real implications, so I can sort of discuss the possibilities and what it might mean for the community. So if you enjoyed this video, I would love it if you'd go ahead and give it a like. These take, I don't know, they just don't take a ton of time to make, but at the same time, I'm very passionate about them and I want them to be done well. And I'm putting more and more time into post-production and trying to add things to it as well. So, you know, yeah, give this video a like if you enjoyed it, if you found it valuable. If you have anything to say, I'd love to have some comments. And, you know, if you haven't subscribed yet, we're at 177 subscribers. I've hit 178 twice, and so I always seem to go back down. I would love for you to be number 178, or if this is in the future, I don't know why you'd be watching this old patch note video in the future, but maybe you would be. So, you know, go ahead and subscribe, whatever, right? It's not a big deal. I hope to see you next time. Let's keep doing the thing, and yeah, let's Overwatch, right?